So yes, more news is piling up for Cyberpunk 2077. It seems that there is quite a bit of work being done behind the scenes by CD Projekt Red. We of course discussed that supposed 38GB update that was data mined a few days ago. Well, it seems that there's more work done behind the scenes, especially on the Epic Games Store, and we also have to discuss about the fact that the game literally just keeps breaking records. It seems that it was one of the most played games on the PlayStation 4 in the month of June, even though it did not release on the first day of June. It released like almost in the half of it, and it still somehow managed to break records over there as well. So let's talk about that, and as always, if you enjoyed this at any point, it would be super awesome if you left a like on it. But I do want to start things off with some recent data mines that we had. So we've talked about this in the previous video about that supposed 38GB big update found on the Epic Games Store. And by the way, huge shout out to Prickly Assassin over on Reddit, because he was the person who discovered this. He made some further discoveries about some of the add-ons over there that I will discuss in just a little bit, but essentially he found out that 38.2GB update that according to him should be released in the next few weeks, and this update has also been uploaded to Steam and GOG for testing. And we did cover the Steam version of it with the history tab pointing a pretty clear picture that there's a very active list of changes happening every single day. And previously it was as early as July 7th. Well, it seems that in the past 12 hours a lot more work has been done on the internal branch, and if you take a look at the depots right here at the bottom on the branches, you can see that there is indeed a testing branch that is ongoing, and changes are made to it almost every week and recently almost every day. But let's discuss about this big supposed update, and as Realme Central is noting right here, the scale of this update is large indeed, but it is not clear what new content it will add to the game. For many players, the article notes, they would be very happy if the update can fix some of the errors in the game. There is still also the possibility that this update may prepare for the upcoming additional content. But what would this update even be called? Because it's probably not going to be update 1.3, it might just skip a few versions if it really is indeed that big. So maybe an update 1.5. It's not uncommon for this to happen, for a lot of updates to be bundled up over the months or over a longer period of time and then being released as a bigger package. At the same time, we also can't exclude the possibility for this file size to just be something that is required to be done behind the scenes, and the final download size will be much smaller. Also, I can't go over the fact that some of the previous updates were indeed large in file size, while at the same time they didn't include too many new features, like it was all just bug fixes. Even some of the previous updates were gigs, like several gigabytes in size, and they were still just like bug fix related and all of that. So this 38.2 big update might still not be content related, if I were to be perfectly honest with you. But here is where the interesting bit begins. In addition, all placeholder plugins on the Epic Games Store have been deleted. Those who bought Cyberpunk 2077 from the Epic Games Store will be forced to update to the latest version before they play the game, even in offline mode, according to the article. This may be because one of the patches or hotfixes contains the necessary code to enable extensions and DLC functions. Now, of course, this is assuming that CD Projekt Red has changed some of their recent plans. In their previous earnings call, they posted this roadmap, so to speak, right here, that kind of shows what they were planning at the very least in the first half of 2021. They of course went over patch 1.22 and 1.23, which released last month, but everything else from 2021 and onward would be multiple patches and updates, and also some free DLCs they mentioned would be included by the end of the year, coming mostly in the second half of 2021 and even more so in 2022. But these were being mentioned as small additional content and not something on a scale of an expansion, so to speak. So even though we might get some free new content in there, I wouldn't expect it to last more than maybe a few hours or maybe even minutes. If, for example, Witcher 3 was anything to go by, I would totally see something like some new cosmetics or some armors, maybe even a full-on mission that would still qualify as small additional content. But who knows, they might very well come with an updated version of that roadmap, and who knows, CD Projekt Red might have just done something amazing behind the scenes that we haven't seen yet, so fingers crossed on that. But as I've said, there has has been some data mine stuff being done in the past few hours from Prickly Assassin again over on Reddit, so a huge shout out to him because he's actually doing quite a lot of work in that regard. So according to him, some of the add-ons on the Epic Games Store have been removed quite recently. This means that DLCs and expansions likewise have been removed from the backend. All of the data related to them have been completely removed, and the add-ons tab has also been set to inactive. And that is actually true. If you go on the Epic Games Store right now and check the game, you're probably not going to see that DLC tab as it was previously. This could mean two things. He notes that there's been a change of plans, or some of the content has been crammed into a content update, which he notes to be unlikely. It's known for a fact that there will be free DLCs and paid expansions, but there's no more information of what might be coming in the future. And he also mentioned later on that he is going to do some digging to see exactly what this new internal patch that CD Projekt Red is testing right now is actually doing. In the meantime, we have that 38GB update. There's a new update in the works that will hopefully fix some bugs and issues with the game. The update size is 38.2 and it will likely release within 2 to 3 weeks. This update has also been uploaded to GOG and Steam for QA testing. And as I've said, yes, the Steam branch has been updated quite recently in the past 12 hours and is likely going to continue so for the foreseeable future. I find that very interesting. It's very surprising that CD Projekt Red is taking such a long time to implement new content. Maybe they are indeed suffering some problems, maybe some technical issues, maybe they simply can't develop content fast enough due to the fact that the game was broken and they needed to fix it first. But it's surprising that the game is such in a poor state right now when it's actually breaking records all over the place. So it re-released on the PlayStation Network last month. I believe it was 10th June when it got a re-release on the PlayStation Network, and it managed to break another record, being one of the most played, well, the top most played games last month, and it didn't even get a full month to break that record. So if you check the recent news on the PlayStation 4 most played games top chart right here, Cyberpunk 2077 is the #1 spot right there. And this, by the way, isn't some poll or anything. This comes directly from the PlayStation blog store. June 2021 top downloads. Of course, on the PlayStation 5 we had Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, which was indeed a new release, and obviously it broke all kinds of records. It's also an amazing game, by the way. And if you look at the PlayStation 4 on the other hand, you will see that Cyberpunk 2077 is right there on the #1 spot, both for US and Canada as well as for Europe. And I mean, that's just insane, dude. Being the most played game 6 months after an almost failed launch. Of course, it did sell over 13 million copies, but I would have never dreamt that a game like this, being so hated, is going to break another record on a console that most people hate to play it on. And I did, by the way, tune in my PlayStation 4 Pro. I actually dusted off, I reinstalled Cyberpunk 2077 on it and played it. Actually, the entire gameplay that you saw in this video, as I've said, was fully played on the PlayStation 4 Pro. And I do have this to say about the re-release, so to speak. First of all, yes, the game does feel quite improved over how it was 6 months ago when I tested it, but it's still not perfect. Not unless you're, well, content with 25 frame rates on average and some really bad, like, rendering issues, especially when you're driving too fast. Stuff tends to load pretty slow in front of you, even on the PlayStation 4 Pro on the latest version. It just seems that some of the building areas, some of the terrain, and even some of the NPCs every now and then will spawn with a delay, kind of like, you know, the game struggling to be rendered on the last gen hardware. On the PlayStation 5, on the other hand, it's smooth as butter. It's of course just like miles away, new generation, amazing hardware and whatnot. But even more so on my PC, you can see the specs in the about section of my channel if you want to. It's just like supreme over there. Of course, PC Master Race, max settings, RTX on 1440p. It just runs so smooth and so amazing, with occasional bugs here and there and fallings through the earth, but that's because the game is a buggy mess at times, while other times it just works works well. So this just shows me how promising of a future Cyberpunk 2077 can have, assuming that CD Projekt Red can stick to a proper update schedule. If they can release content update on a reliable basis and just come in with something unexpected, they're probably gonna hit record highs again, even though they had a failed launch, even though people are still hating on it every now and then on forums and social media. So yeah, totally let me know down below what is your opinion of the game. Again, I'm asking it for the 1000th time or so, but honestly, what is your opinion of the game when all is said and done? I personally love the idea and everything the game is about. I just hate the way it was executed, and I'm willing to pass some of the shortcomings in terms of the performance if I am having a great time, which when I'm booting the game up I am having, despite some of the issues that still exist. This is it though with the update. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.